All right, guys, let's talk about keto with carbs, okay? It doesn't seem to make sense at first because a keto or a ketogenic diet basically means you deprive your body of carbohydrates, which is, for most people, the primary energy source. When your body doesn't have carbohydrates long enough, it starts breaking down fat into things called ketones, which the body can use instead of carbohydrates as fuel, okay? A lot of people like that because there's a more stable energy, instead of, eating ho-hos and cheesy poofs and, your energy goes up and then you have a sugar crash. You don't have that when you basically use fat for energy. A lot of people have a lot more mental clarity, but they just feel more with it. They just feel better when they're on high fat, low carbs than when they're burning sugar for energy, okay? So there are a whole lot of benefits to these kinds of diets. Why would somebody want to add in carbohydrates? Okay, there's one person who would have a problem without any carbohydrates whatsoever, and that is the kind of person who, first of all, is an expert amateur or a professional level athlete, okay? And second, the sport that this expert amateur or professional level athlete does requires explosive movements, okay? For instance, if you're going to run a marathon, it's a really good thing to get your body fat adapted and just burn fat for energy, okay? You never really run out of body fat no matter how lean you get. So whereas most people run a certain amount, their body is empty of carbohydrates and then they hit the wall where they have no energy and they have to push themselves mentally, you would not have that because you're not using carbs for energy. You're using body fat. You're never going to run out of body fat. So you could run a lot better at like an even pace than, the kind of person who's using carbohydrates for energy. You can do it longer, faster, better. However, let's say you're sprinting. When you sprint, you use sugar, you use carbs for energy, not fat, okay? It's the energy source that you use when you're in the anaerobic state. Another example would be somebody who lifts weights, okay? Not someone who goes to the gym and uses the machines or gets a little pump. We're talking about someone who's a serious power lifter, serious Olympic weightlifter, okay? Somebody who does like really short movements, really short sets, okay? And needs a lot of power just all at once. That's another kind of person who would kind of suffer if he's on a ketogenic diet. And, another thing is somebody who does I've got a lot of questions from guys who do boxing or some do mixed martial arts where they have to be really explosive and they just don't have that pop that they do when they're taking carbohydrates in. But they love ketogenic dieting. They love the way they feel, but they just don't have that edge. They don't have that pop. When you're trying to do a snatch or do a power clean with weight, you just don't have the same pop when you don't have any carbs. So there are actually 3 different kinds of ketogenic diets that you can go on. One of them is a standard ketogenic diet. Fats and protein, as few carbs as possible. Great for like 99% of the people in the world, okay? However, if you belong to the 1% of the people who really need that power, that explosive power, you might want to look at a cyclic or a targeted ketogenic diet. A cyclic ketogenic diet is actually the first diet that I ever had any experience with. It was the steak and eggs diet by Vin Gironda. You had steak and eggs, fried in butter 2 or 3 times a day, depending upon whether you're trying to get leaner or get, more muscular. And every few days, every 3 or 4 days, you'd have a small meal of carbs, or once a week, which was what most people did, because this is really the 70s bodybuilding diet. Most of the people would take 1 day a week and they would carb load, okay? Very similar diet, the anabolic diet, created by a guy called Dr. Mario De Pasquale for a league of bodybuilding that was supposed to replace the IFBB, okay? It was actually the World Wrestling Federation's bodybuilding league. They were already having problem with steroids and really bad press because of the wrestlers on steroids. So they got this doctor to come up with a diet that would allow their bodybuilders to get the same results without steroids. Now, obviously, The only thing that works like steroids are steroids. No diet is going to replace steroids, but you could get really good effects, results from his diet, which was another cyclic ketogenic diet. High fat, low carbs, 5 days a week. On the weekends, 1 or 2 days of the weekend, you would have a carb refeed. Now, that was really great. Okay, that was really great. The problem that I have with a cyclic ketogenic diet, where you cycle days of low fat, low carb, high fat with the 1 day of high carb, low fat, is there's not a whole lot of structure to it. Okay? How often do you do this? How often do you have to refeed your body with carbohydrates? How many carbohydrates do you take in? How many calories do you take in? And a lot of that is going by feel, okay? Dr. Mario De Pasquale actually basically said, he's like, you'll know your body. You'll start realizing when you get to like spillover, you're not replacing your muscle glycogen anymore. All you're really doing is, just getting bloated, getting fat. And that's when you have to stop eating carbs and go back to low carb. Okay, but it's really hard for someone to do that, especially someone who doesn't have a lot of experience with dieting. I mean, if I were to tell a person who has a weight problem, when you feel like you're getting depleted, go ahead and have some carbs. How many of those people that have a weight problem would say to me, oh, well, every 2 days I feel like I need to refeed. So every other day I just have like stacks of pancakes 15 times a day. It's not really going to work. Honestly, if you want to have a social life, okay, if you want to have a diet that you can stay with, you might want to try a cyclical ketogenic diet. Because believe me, and Dr. Mario De Pasquale mentioned this also in his book, The Anabolic Diet, there is something to be known about having like, okay, Saturday I'm going to do a carb refeed. Sunday through Friday, I'm going to be on low carbs, high fat. But every day when you're eating low carbs, high fat, hey, Saturday I can eat whatever I want. Wake up Saturday morning, have a big stack of pancakes, throw on the maple syrup. If you want to have a piece of cake, hey, have a piece of cake. He himself said, like, hey, you could still have beer. Wait until the day that you're refeeding carbs. So you can go ahead and have, a couple of beers with the guys. You could have a mixed drink with, real soda, no problem. Just do it on that one day. So it's a really good diet to go on where you get the best of both worlds. You get the keto all week, and then that one day you can kind of cut loose and, have a bowl of cereal if you want, okay? Performance-wise, I don't really think it's that good, okay? Like I said, if you want to get good performance from a cyclic ketogenic diet, you really need to listen to your body, okay? And actually, me personally, after a while, I just stopped doing refeeds because I realized I didn't need them. I would just do my low carb, high fat 7 days a week, and I felt great. I had a lot of food that I loved eating. I had keto cheat meals, so I just didn't need it anymore, and I stopped. However, during this last year I was on a low carb lean bulk, I noticed when I really, really, really pushed the weight that I didn't quite have, the same power that I should. Sometimes I'd be working out and I wouldn't, like my muscles are strong enough, but I just don't have like the energy to do more. Now, believe me, I'm doing, like I said, I was doing trap bar deadlifts with over 400 pounds. I was doing weighted dips with over 180 pounds additional weight while I was doing dips. So I was really pushing the limits on this low carb lean bulk, okay? And, so like I said, but I did notice that I needed some carbs. So the targeted ketogenic diet is something that I really recommend for performance, okay? The targeted ketogenic diet is not fun. The targeted ketogenic diet is not, hey, I'm gonna have some donuts and then, I'm gonna feel good for a couple of days. I'm gonna get more of a pump. That's not the targeted ketogenic diet. The targeted ketogenic diet means you are on your standard ketogenic diet, okay? Right before you have an intense training session, whether you're a boxer and you got to hit the pads, okay, and do some intense intervals, whether you're a sprinter and you got to do your sprints, you're lifting weights and you got to lift your weights. If you're doing an intense, really professional level workout, then yes, okay, it makes sense to take in some carbohydrates right before. So how do you do this? The way that I found out, and this only works if you're really working intensely, is to take dextrose powder mixed with water. Okay, dextrose powder, the reason for that is dextrose, unlike sucrose, table sugar, unlike fructose, fruit sugar, dextrose is very similar to muscle glycogen, okay? If you take in table sugar, it will replace the glycogen in your liver where glycogen is stored. You don't want it there, you want it in your muscles, okay? You are going to, on a targeted ketogenic diet, come out of ketosis. Okay, your body will stop burning ketones as long as you have the glycogen available. But if your body's fat adapted, by the end of the workout, you should have burnt off all of this muscle glycogen, and your body will have no other opportunity but to start burning ketones again. Okay, so you will come out of ketosis for a little bit, but you'll be right back into ketosis when everything's gone. Okay, so take dextrose, that is the sugar you're supposed to take in. It goes right into your muscles, not into your liver. It replaces muscle glycogen, not liver glycogen, okay? Dextrose powder mixed with water. I also use whey protein, okay? Because if you're working out intensely, you want to have some protein in your body right before a workout as well. Whey protein goes into your bloodstream quicker than any other kind of protein. So I mix 1/4 of my body weight in pounds, okay, in grams of dextrose and whey protein, okay? So let's say, to make things easy, you weigh 200 pounds, okay? Maybe you weigh more than 200 pounds and you're trying to get down to 200 pounds, or maybe you weigh 200 pounds and you're happy with your weight. Your goal weight is 200 pounds, okay? 1/4 of that would be 50, so you take 50 grams of dextrose 30 minutes before a workout, okay? And also I take 50 grams of whey protein. Pay attention, not whey protein powder, whey protein. So the powder that I'm using right now, for me to get like 48 grams of protein, I need to take 62 grams of protein powder, okay? So take that right before, 30 minutes before my workout. By the time I start working out, it's in my muscles, I have the energy. By the time I'm done with my workout, it's gone, okay? So like I said, this is only if you're working out intensely, okay? If you're not working out intensely enough to burn off all of that dextrose in your workout and to be completely depleted of carbohydrates after your workout, you're not working out intensely enough to warrant a targeted ketogenic or even a cyclic ketogenic diet, okay? So, like I said, if you feel like your workouts are suffering because you are working out at a very high level, you just don't have it without the carbohydrates, you do not have to give up a ketogenic diet, okay? And like I said, this is basically the way it works, okay? You could either do a cyclic ketogenic diet, which I don't recommend, where you intermittently fill your muscles up with glycogen, okay? And every few days when you're kind of depleted, you fill them up again. Or you could take a very small amount of carbohydrates, okay, in the form of dextrose powder mixed with water right before your workout, just enough to give you a spike to fuel your workout. And then when you're done, you'll be depleted. You'll be back to burning ketones again.